Sam and his wife Rachel were out on the golf course when she crushed a 300-yard drive straight down the fairway. "Wow," Sam said. "I've never seen you play this well before." "I took lessons," Rachel replied with a smile. A few days later, during a mixed doubles tennis match, Rachel dominated the court with unstoppable serves and perfect volleys. "Unbelievable," Sam said, astonished. "I've never seen you play like this before." "I took lessons," she said again casually. That weekend, they sat down for a cozy dinner at home. Rachel served up a flawless beef Wellington, perfectly cooked and presented. "This is incredible," Sam exclaimed. "I didn't know you could cook like this." Rachel simply grinned. "I took lessons." Later that night, she gave him that look, and they headed upstairs. 30 minutes later, Sam rolled over panting and said, "Wow, that was incredible, amazing, so hot." Then he paused, caught his breath, and said, "I want a divorce." A woman comes home and finds a letter from her husband on the dining room table. Curious, she opens it and begins to read. "My dear wife, you will surely understand that I have certain needs that you, as a 54-year-old, can no longer satisfy. I want you to know how much I value you as a good wife and life partner. However, I hope you won't misinterpret the fact that I'll be spending the evening with my 18-year-old secretary at the Comfort Inn. Please don't be upset. I'll be back before midnight." That night, when the man returned home, he found a letter waiting for him on the table. It read, "My dear husband, I received your letter and appreciate your honesty regarding my age. I would like to take this opportunity to remind you that you, too, are 54 years old. That said, while you're spending the evening at the Comfort Inn with your secretary, I will be at the Hotel Fiesta with Michael, one of my students and an assistant tennis coach. He's 18, energetic, and unlike your secretary, exceptionally skilled in, shall we say, physical education. As a successful businessman with an excellent grasp of math, I'm sure you'll understand that we're in the same situation. However, there is one key difference. 18 goes into 54 a lot more times than 54 goes into 18. An old football player lay on his deathbed. Feeling the weight of his conscience, he called his wife over and said, "My dearest, I need to confess something before I go. I've cheated on you twice during our marriage. Please forgive me." His wife looked at him lovingly and replied, "I forgive you, my love, but I have a confession too. I cheated on you 3 times. "3 times?" the husband exclaimed, shocked. "Who were they with?" His wife gently patted his hand and said, "Well, do you remember when it was so hard for you to get admitted to the football team? I went to the coach and, well, convinced him to let you join." The husband was alarmed but nodded, thinking, "At least she did it for me." "Who else? Do you remember when you first got on the team and no one would pass the ball to you? I, spoke to 10 of the players and convinced them to be friendlier with you during halftime." "What?" the husband spluttered, his heart racing now. "And the 3rd time?" His wife smiled sweetly. "Do you remember when no one in the town came to watch your matches?" Sam was a happily married man, but every year on his birthday he had the same request for his wife. "Honey, I want a threesome." And every year his wife would firmly refuse. This went on for years until on his 40th birthday, his wife finally sighed and said, "Fine, Sam, you can have your stupid threesome. Now tell me, who do you want it to be with?" Sam's face lit up like a kid on Christmas morning. "Really? You mean it?" "Yes, I mean it," his wife said. "So who's it going to be?" Sam didn't hesitate. "Well, you know Sarah from accounting at my office?" His wife nodded, growing suspicious. "Yes, I know Sarah." Sam grinned. "Her and, one of her friends." A duck waddles into a store and asks the manager, "Do you sell duck food?" The manager replies, "No, we don't sell duck food." The duck leaves. The next day, the duck comes back and asks again, "Do you sell duck food?" The manager, a bit annoyed, says, "No, we still don't sell duck food." The duck leaves. On the 3rd day, the duck waddles in once more and asks, "Do you sell duck food?" The manager loses his temper and yells, "No, we don't sell duck food, and if you come in here asking for duck food one more time, I'll staple your feet to the floor." The duck pauses, tilts his head, and asks, "Do you sell staples?" The manager, caught off guard, grumbles, "No." The duck grins. "Great! Do you sell duck food?" A little boy asked his father, "What is politics?" The father thought for a moment and replied, "All right, son, let me explain it like this. I'm the breadwinner of the family, so let's call me the money. Your mom manages the household, so she's the government. We're here to take care of your needs, so you're the people. The nanny is like the working class, and your baby brother is the future. Now take that all in and think about it." The boy nodded and went off to bed, trying to process what his father had said. That night, he woke up to the sound of his baby brother crying. He went to check on him and found that the baby had soiled his diaper. The boy went to his parents' room to ask for help, but his mother was fast asleep. Not wanting to disturb her, he went to the nanny's room. He tried the door, but it was locked, so he peeked through the keyhole and saw his father in bed with the nanny. Confused and frustrated, the boy went back to bed. The next morning, he sat down with his dad and said, "Dad, I think I get it now. I understand politics." The father, feeling pleased, asked, "Great. So, what have you learned?" The boy replied, "Well, while the money is busy messing with the working class, the government is asleep, the people are being ignored, and the future's just getting screwed." A wife was in bed with her lover when she heard her husband stumbling toward the door. Panicking, she quickly whispered, "Stay put. He's so drunk he won't even notice you." The husband stumbled into the room, barely coherent, and crawled into bed next to his wife, none the wiser. However, a few moments later, through his drunken fog, he noticed 6 feet sticking out from the end of the bed. He squinted and said, "Hold on a second, there are 6 feet here, not 4. What's going on?" The wife, trying to stay calm, replied, "Oh, you're just seeing things. You've had too much to drink. Get out of bed and try counting again. You'll see better from the floor." The husband, confused but trusting her, climbed out of bed, counted carefully, and mumbled, 1, 2, 3, 4. "Oh, okay, I see. You're right. I must have miscounted." And he rolled over to go back to sleep, still none the wiser. An elderly man married a much younger woman, but after the honeymoon, he began having some concerns. Embarrassed, he visited his doctor for advice. "Doc, I'm struggling with the romantic part," he admitted. "I can't keep up and don't want to disappoint her." The doctor asked, "How long does it take you?" "About 1 hour and 41 minutes, the man replied. The doctor was surprised and asked how that worked. "Well," the man explained, 40 minutes to get started, then it's over in a minute. The rest of the time, I'm recovering from fainting." At a winery, the regular taster passed away, and the director was on the lookout for a replacement. A disheveled, unkempt man strolled in, clearly intoxicated. The director was skeptical, but decided to test him. He handed the man a glass of wine. The drunkard took a sip and said, "Ah, Muscat, 3 years old, grown on a north-facing slope, aged in stainless steel. Not the best quality, but passable." The director, stunned, confirmed, "That's correct." He offered another glass. The drunk man took a sip, then declared, "Cabernet, 8 years old, from a southwest-facing slope, aged in oak barrels at 8 degrees Celsius, needs another 3 years for peak flavor." Once again, the director was speechless. "Correct!" Finally, the director poured another glass. The man tasted it and said, "Pinot Blanc Champagne, high-end exclusive." Impressed, but still cautious, the director decided to really test the man. He nodded at his secretary, who left and returned with a glass containing urine. The drunkard took a sip and paused. Then, with a knowing look, he said, "Blonde, 26 years old, 3 months pregnant. And if I don't get the job, I'll be naming the father." A man and woman had been married for over 60 years. They shared everything, talked about everything, and kept no secrets from each other, except for one. The woman had a shoebox at the top of her closet, which she had carefully told her husband never to open or ask about. For all those years, he respected her wishes, but one day the woman fell seriously ill, and the doctor said she wouldn't recover. As they were going through their affairs, the man decided it was time to finally open the box. He brought it to his wife's bedside, and she gave him a knowing look. "It's time," she said. "You should know what's inside." With trembling hands, the man opened the box. Inside, he found 2 crocheted dolls and a large stack of money, $95,000 to be exact. He looked at her in confusion. "Tell me about this," he asked. The woman smiled softly. "When we got married, my grandmother gave me some advice. She said the secret to a happy marriage was never arguing. She told me that if I ever got upset with you, I should just keep quiet and crochet a doll." The man, deeply moved, wiped away a tear. "So there are only 2 dolls in the box. You've only been angry with me twice in all these years." "That's right," she said. "Only twice." He beamed with happiness, his heart full of love, but then his curiosity got the better of him. "But what about all this money? Where did it come from?" The woman chuckled. "Oh, that's the money I made from selling the other dolls." A mother-in-law returns home from shopping to find her son-in-law, Pete, in a furious rage, frantically packing his suitcase. "What happened, Patty?" she asks, concerned. "What happened? I'll tell you what happened," Pete exclaims. "I sent an email to my wife, Jean, telling her I was coming home today from my fishing trip. I get home and guess what I find? Your daughter, my wife, naked, in our bed with Tim McDermott. This is unforgivable. It's the end of our marriage. I'm done. I'm leaving." Now, calm down, Patty," the mother-in-law says. "There must be a simple explanation. Jean would never do such a thing. I'll go speak to her and find out what happened." A few moments later, the mother-in-law returns, smiling broadly. "There, Pete," she says. "I told you there must be a simple explanation." Pete, still fuming, snaps, "Well, what is it?" "She never got your email," the mother-in-law replies with a grin. One summer evening, 2 couples were playing poker. During the game, Bob accidentally dropped a few of his chips on the floor. As he bent down to pick them up, he couldn't help but notice Jay's wife, Kate, brushing her foot against him in a way that left no room for doubt. Later, when Bob went to the kitchen to grab some drinks, Kate followed him. "Do you like what you see?" she asked, her tone teasing. Caught off guard, Bob stammered but eventually admitted, "Well, yes, I do." Kate leaned in and whispered, "You can have it, but it'll cost you $10,000. Bob hesitated, weighing the hefty price tag and the moral implications. After a moment, he nodded. Kate smiled and said, "Jay works Friday afternoons. Be at my house at 2 p.m. Friday came, and Bob arrived at exactly 2 p.m. After handing Kate the $10,000, they headed to the bedroom and enjoyed exactly what she had promised. Satisfied and slightly lighter in the wallet, Bob dressed quickly and left. Later that evening, at 6 p.m. sharp, Jay came home from work. As soon as he walked in, he called out to his wife, "Hey, did Bob stop by with my money?" Kate froze. Her heart raced as she tried to maintain her composure. Yeah, he came by for a few minutes," she replied cautiously. Jay's eyes narrowed. "And did he give you the $10,000? Kate's stomach dropped. Trying to keep a poker face, she nodded. "Yes, he did give me $10,000. Jay broke into a satisfied grin. "Perfect! Bob borrowed $10,000 from me last night at the office. I told him to drop it off here this afternoon on his way home." A chicken farmer walked into a bar and sat next to a woman. He ordered a glass of champagne. The woman looked over and said, "What a coincidence. I just ordered champagne too." "Really?" said the farmer. "It's a special day for me. I'm celebrating." "It's a special day for me too," the woman replied with a smile. "I'm celebrating as well." The farmer raised his glass. "Well, cheers to that. What are you celebrating?" "My husband and I have been trying to have a baby for years," the woman said. "Today my doctor told me I'm finally pregnant." "That's amazing," said the farmer. "Congratulations, you won't believe this, but I'm a chicken farmer. For years my hens were infertile, and today they're finally laying fertilized eggs. That's incredible," said the woman. "What did you do to fix it?" "I used a different rooster," the farmer said. The woman paused, then smiled slyly. "What a coincidence." After a long day at work, George left his London office and headed to the pub across the street for a well-deserved drink. The rain was coming down in sheets, and a large puddle had formed right in front of the pub. As George crossed the street, he noticed a ragged old man standing by the puddle with a rod, dangling a string into the water. Intrigued, George stopped and asked, "What are you doing?" "Fishing," the old man replied without looking up. George chuckled to himself. Poor old fool, he thought. Feeling a bit sorry for the man, he decided to invite him inside for a drink. They sat down with their whiskey, and George, trying to make conversation, decided to humor him. "So," he asked with a smirk, "how many have you caught?" The old man sipped his drink, glanced at George, and said, "You're the eighth."